Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 4 of Brews and Belters podcast. I am Keegan Gowitz. I'm here in Milwaukee, my new home with,
Jack Butler.
and we've got
Toby Hienefeld.
tuning in from beautiful Peoria, Illinois. Tonight we've got a pretty light show, busy week for all of us. Finally made the move up to Milwaukee, like I said, and have referenced in past episodes. And pretty light weekend for soccer in general. Obviously, with the Premier League not being in session and that being kind of the focal point of our podcasts in recent weeks. We do have some Everton updates, and then we've got a few FA Cup matches that Toby will walk us through with Tottenham and some other clubs. And then we're going to talk a little bit of Serie A and a little bit of Bundesliga. Jack, you can actually kick us off with a little bit of Everton chatter.
Well, I want to tell you what I'm drinking first.
Yes, thank you. I'm getting ahead of myself.
So I'm drinking. I will say that I dropped quite a bit of money. I went home back to Central Illinois and went to our local establishment there, Friar Tuck's, who's soon to be a sponsor. But did a big poll on some brews that I can't get up here in Wisconsin. So I got this from Church Street. Which did someone talk about Church Street from Itasca? Why is this sounding familiar?
I did. Not Church Street though, but there was another one from Itasca.
Oh, well, this is Church Street Brewing from Itasca outside of Chicago. This is their Russian Rhapsody coming in at 10%, so we'll do well.
Wow. Yeah, I've got a Milwaukee brew here, Black Walnut Belgian Imperial Scout from Raised Grain Brewing Company. Pretty good stuff is what it looks like in the glass. Pretty good stuff. It's a 9.6, so I think I'm just gonna have one. I got to drive back to my new hometown of Wauwatosa. There it is, Toby, what you sipping on?
I got the Hienefeld House Special Bell's Two-Hearted Ale. I was actually with Jack when we went on that expedition. Had to pick up my trophy, battle axe for the Fellowship of the League. Shout out me winning the fantasy football. So went with him, and I got some beer as well, but I drank most of it, and I didn't want to drink the other stuff. So I got the House Special. This is my favorite IPA, so got that one percolating right now. So yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Love a good percolator. All right, now Jack can kick us off with a little bit of chatter about Everton this past week.
Yeah, so I tried to watch the FA match over the weekend, but I was having issues with the ESPN Plus only on that game. So I could watch Serie A, I could watch other stuff, but so what I had to do was go to there's a YouTube channel called the Blues Boys Network that is an Everton channel, and I pretty much just had to like watch those guys stream their watching.
That sounds awful.
Oh, it was terrible. So I really only got in on the second half against how do you pronounce it? Rotherham. Again, didn't watch it, but it just sounds like it was a really poor performance. And that's going to segue into we win 2-1. Chick Tosin has like I watched the highlights, seeing what happened. It sounds like it's a classic Chick Tosin type of game. Like Chick Tosin can finish, he just struggles getting into position. He's just old and I don't know, like can't do anything. He can't move. He's like he's like the most is awkward running. I can't stand like trying to watch him get into position. But if you give him the ball, like he can do stuff with it. So he gets a goal. What is it?
Was he in there for a reason? How's Calvin Lewin?
So DCL has a hamstring. Also did not play in the Wolves game. It doesn't sound like it's anything serious, but just giving him some time. And he's played a lot of soccer this year. So, yeah, so I'm all for just nursing him for however long he needs. But yeah, so nothing there. We're through to the next round. And that's what you do with FA games in December when everything is compact and you just got to win games even if they're ugly.
Yeah.
Everton. I actually just got done watching Everton Wolves. It was on Peacock, so I was able to just have that on demand when I got home. And the biggest takeaway that I get from that game is how much Ancelotti does not trust our bench at all. So the reason I say that is right, you get Digne, who's starting, he's back from injury, and you got him starting in the left wing with Richarlison, comes in as a sub in the 75th minute, but he's coming back from an injury, and you play Digne out of position as opposed to getting somebody off the bench. You have DCL's out. Jake Tosin is not going to do well, especially against Wolves. It's a quick team. He's not going to do well. So you have Sigurdsson and James pretty much playing like a 4-4-2. James floats. He was floating around. Like he wasn't like a hardcore like up top. He was moving, but it was like Sigurdsson and James are playing up front. I'm like, good lord. Like Sigurdsson up front is bad. Just a bad.
Not a good look. Yeah.
Not a good look. And he looked terrible. But it just goes to show that he doesn't trust anybody off the bench. I thought Anthony Gordon maybe would have been a play up front. That's not his natural position, but he at least brings pace. And anyway, so like that starting off, I just looked at the roster and how they were set up. It just validates what I've already said is that our bench is weak. We'll see what happens in January. But Carlo obviously doesn't trust anything there. But we end up with a win, a 2-1 win. Really fun game, open game. Iwobi scores in the 6th minute off of a really good cross from James. James switches the field to Digne. Digne is inside the 18 and distributes it to Iwobi, and Iwobi gets in the position and gets a goal. So Wolves countered and scored relatively quickly back. I think in like the 15th minute. And Michael Keane scores in the 75th, but it was back and forth. The Wolves looked to hold a lot of the game, kind of in that middle portion.
Good header by Keane.
Good header by Keane. But yeah, it was just it was one of those games that you just got to win. And yeah, I mean, just our bench is decimated, or our starting lineup is decimated. We are getting people out of position, but if you're still getting wins like that, we'll take it.
It's a good win for them too. Not that Wolves have been good; they've struggled this season, but they're a team that's capable of beating a side like Everton any week if they put the pieces together and play well.
And if Everton's not up for it, that seems to be like Everton's
Yeah.
thing. Like, are they up for games?
Yeah.
And they played like I said, it was fun.
Yeah, and all that matters is
Open
the
game.
result at the end of the day, and they got the result, and that's what's big right now. You're playing with guys out of position. You have to get a result against a team like Wolves. And they're just kind of a weird. I won't spend too much time talking about them, but they're just a weird, inconsistent team where they show threats. They'll put 3 goals up on a Brighton Hove Albion in one half, and then they'll let them come back from 3-1 down and draw with them in the second half, and they just don't make sense. They feel like a team who should be pushing like Everton to that kind of next level, to where they're maybe a top 7-8 team, and they just aren't doing it. And I don't know, it goes back, I guess, again to what I've been harping on all season for the Premier League, which is inconsistency. But they just don't seem to find a rhythm or an identity, really.
I mean, like their style, they're playing a style that you think would be a top of the top of the half of the league, shooting for Europe. But I mean, but also the reality starts setting in of like what's their budget, like
Yeah.
I mean they're
Especially right now. Yeah.
especially right now. There's bigger clubs out there than them, but they're been punching ahead of their weight, and not having Jimenez is devastating
Huge.
for a team like that.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah. To rewind a little bit back to the FA Cup, I mean Everton, they sat most of their players, but there were still a few guys like Gomez, I think, was out there. There was a few guys that were like name players that were playing there. And Rotherham, I want to say, is second to the last. So they're actually in the championship relegation to go to then League One. And yeah, it was 1-1. That's actually how it ended. They had to go into extra time, 2 extra 15 minutes. That's how the FA rules are. They don't do PKs. It's 2 extra 15s, and then I think PKs after that. Some other small notes I took. Actually, both teams were equal on shot attempts, 16 each with a 4 on target. Everton had 67% of possession. And Rotherham, the one goal that they did get was from a 22-year-old American playing for him. So shout out. I think every time an American does anything, we gotta give it where it's due. So yeah.
And
they're right on point. I think after the points today, don't they have a game in hand still with Man City being canceled?
Correct.
And they're third in the league right now, third or fourth. So
yep.
Yeah.
And the only other thing, like kind of piece of news, is that Moise Keane, who we've referenced in the pod, it sounds like they really are wanting to give him PSG wanting to make him an offer to stay at PSG. And if that's the case, like I can't imagine Moise Keane wanting to come back to Everton. It wasn't I don't blame this on Everton or him. I just don't think it was a great situation that he was coming in and he just didn't flourish. Like if he wants to stay at PSG, like and we take 30 odd million for him, I think it's good business for us to be able to, right? Like we have several gaps that need reinforcing. To take that, to be able to do that, maybe in January if we can close that business. I think that us doing anything in January depends on if we get Moise Keane sold, or if we get a Chick Tosin off of our books. But you could go and fill so many holes with that. And I think it's also good business for PSG. If Keane has a second half like he's had in the first half, his bill is going to go up a substantial amount. So I think it's good business for PSG to get this done now, because I don't think he's planning on stopping anytime.
Yeah, I think it's a great move for all three parties. Beyond just Everton can fill a few voids that they're missing with that 30 million. On top of that, Keane is one of those players. I've joked before that at Everton there wasn't enough Instagram clout, there wasn't enough people with dyed hair and doing like dances and shit. Like jokingly, I've said that, but I really do think that his lifestyle and his sort of image and that youth and that sort of like fun, let me be in front of the camera side of Moise Keane, which is a part of him. And I think that some players shine letting that through. I think a Pogba shines when you let him express himself that way. And I think Keane's like that too, where PSG, he's going to fit that culture more than he would at Everton. So I think it's just a smart move for everybody involved. I think Everton lets him go. They get good money for him. It was a good investment by them. And, PSG benefits from him playing well, and he benefits from finding his role there at PSG. So I think it's good business for everybody, and I hope it happens. I love seeing him play well.
So moving on to some of the other FA games, ones that stood out to me, Liverpool Villa. I didn't watch that one, but it was kind of funny because Villa is being hit hard with COVID right now. So they actually played their under 21s. And there was one kid from Villa who did put in a goal. And it ended up being 4-1. And after the game, he took his jersey off to trade it with one of the center backs. I can't remember which one. And he ended up having to chase that guy down afterwards because that was his first cap for Villa and his first goal. So he wanted his jersey back too. So he took both
Oh
jerseys.
shit!
Yeah, it was kind of funny. That was
Look
like
at that. That's awesome. That's a great bit.
I think he's only 16 too. He was pretty young.
He is, and there's a great account, which we forget to shout out our social media. You can follow us on YouTube. You can just search Brews and Belters, and it's spelled with the ands symbol. And then Twitter and Instagram, just at Brews and Belters, spell out and. But there's a great social media account and website called Versus, and they do whoever writes their Instagram posts is a phenomenal copywriter, and they write up these great posts highlighting a lot of players, and they called it. They said Lewis Berry is a real deal. He's going to get a chance to show out against Liverpool, and he's the one who bagged the goal. And I want to say 16. Um, and yeah, just props to Aston Villa. Hit hard with COVID, and they sent out their young guys. And they got beat 4-1, but they played hard and they competed and played well. So props to those guys, and good for them too, getting a chance to go out and play and represent their club and get some exposure.
Yeah. So other games from Friday. Nottingham Forest got a victory. Millwall got a victory. Then switching to Saturday, my boys Norwich City got a victory. They rested Pookie. Can't have the God playing in the FA Cup. The other big one of the first thing in the morning was Chorley over Derby County. Derby County is in the championship, so they're in the second division, and Chorley is in, if I remember right, they're in the sixth division. And they went viral after the game because the entire team was like arm in arm in the locker room, which looked to be just underneath the set of bleachers, and they were they were arm in arm, and they were literally singing Adele. And yeah, so that was like the whole thing. Of all the songs that they picked, they had to pick Adele. So it was Somebody Like You, in case you're wondering, Jack.
That's one of the shitty things, though. It's many of the shitty things about COVID is like, could you imagine like that place of I don't know how many
man.
what that stadium fits, but like the absolute berserkness that would have happened to be able to be in the stands for that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So I mean, let's just go right to it because there was a few other games Saturday. Nothing that really jumped out to me. Man U took Watford with I think it was a McTominay goal, if I remember right. I didn't really watch that one. But Sunday, the pageantry of the whole FA Cup, I think there was a few other games on Sunday that we can kind of touch base on, but the main one was Spurs Marine. Spurs literally traveled to a 8th division team that I was doing some like quick research. I kind of shouted out a lot of this stuff last week, how small the stadium is. They had fans that were sitting like drinking beer and drinking wine in like lawn chairs, literally by their garden in their backyard watching the game. There was people that were sitting like they literally had pictures of them sitting on their bed looking out their like window watching like Garrett Bale.
Yeah.
Like it was just bonkers to think that that is where like a top premier team and a top like probably 25 team in the world is playing. And yeah, so that team Marine, their average earnings is $2,300 or £2,300 per week. And then something else I thought was kind of funny. So all those guys are just like us three. Like they can't really schedule pods as much as they want to because they work a 9 to 5 just like us. So their manager works on the railway. Their goalkeeper, who had some legit saves, like he had some actually good saves. There was one in particular that I thought was just an unbelievable save on a cross from Dele Ali, which I'll get to him in a minute. But it was to Matt Doherty, and Doherty went far post on this chip or on this cross, and it was awesome. And he saved it, but it went right to Vinicius, and so he got a goal. But that dude literally works at the supermarket. Like that's what he does. There's guys who there's a bin man. I had to look up what that is. That's a garbage man in England. They call them bin men. Plumber, teacher, yeah, pretty much like all sorts of different things. Manufacturer, railway guy. So I don't know. It was just crazy to see them, and like they literally look like me. They look like us three out there playing, like like they were just dudes. And what was funniest about it is they actually hung tight with them for the first 20 minutes, and they had the best opportunity of the night in the first 20 minutes. Like a dude got a good through ball and just cranked a goal, a belter, and it hit off the post. Like I don't think Joe Hart, who was playing goal, which all those guys probably grew up idolizing him because he was like the man in England 10, 15 years ago, and he just rocketed one right off the crossbar, and it like was dipping, it was fluttering. Yeah, it was just awesome to see everything and how them as a uh, team, and then the whole community as a whole. I think everyone just loved it, and Tottenham, they went at them. They played like most of their second team players. There was maybe one or two starters in, and then after half they started to put in like the 16, 18, like all the under 20 21s that they had on the roster. They ended up putting them all in. So yeah, but I mean, when it comes down to it, Marine hung with them 5-0. If you guys remember a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, they beat Man United 7-2. So if that's saying Marine did better than Man United, so that's kind of how I'm equating it if you think about it. So yeah, did you guys catch that one?
Yeah, and you mentioned Dele Ali. I was very, very impressed with him. One, he played really well, which I mean, you can argue that it's eighth tier Marine and that they're local supermarket workers and bin men and whatnot. But I beyond just being impressed with how he played and the passes that he made and the connections that he made and his intelligence and work rate. I was really impressed that he didn't blow this off and that he wasn't too cool. Like a younger player with that type of talent can kind of get in there and try and fuck with people in a way, try to spend his time trying to, especially after you go up 3-0, 4-0, spend your time trying to nutmeg people, and it's not business at that point. You're out there, just taking it lightly, and he didn't. He was all business. He went out, he played well. And it was just interesting to see a player like that who's had the spotlight that he has, who has had the expectations he's had, but hasn't got that playing time. Like this was the first start that he got where he was like the leader on the pitch, and he went out and he was all business, and he took that as an opportunity to really shine. And that has to be a pretty humbling moment to be a guy who's had as much,
I
shine.
was gonna say, is it humbling that you have to do it against a seventh division team?
That's what I'm saying. Like it probably takes a little bit of humility to be like, okay, I could literally do whatever I want against these guys, and to still go about it in a very business-like way, in a very mature way for a guy who's 23. How old is he?
24, yeah.
24.
Yeah. No, I totally
And
agree
not
with
just
you.
kind of blow it off and be too cool. I could see a Neymar out there trying to rainbow it over their head every other touch and shit
Mhm.
like that. And he didn't go out and do that, which I
And
appreciate.
even with them expanding the benches in the Premier League, Lo Celso most likely will be back. I'm not sure how his hamstring's doing, but he might be back as early as tomorrow for their game against Fulham, which was flexed because of the Aston Villa COVID. So they end up they're remaking the game from a week and a half ago that was canceled with Fulham. So Fulham will then play. They played over the weekend in the FA Cup. They're playing tomorrow, and then their game on Friday got transferred to Saturday against Chelsea, scheduling wise. Uh, but with that, and with Eric Lamela back as well, there might not be a roster spot for him even on the bench. And with him and all the rumors going to PSG as well, that might have been the last time you see him in a Tottenham jersey. I highly doubt it. I don't think it'll be till the summer, but you never know.
And I was curious too how much of that. I mean, I hope that was just professionalism and maturity from his standpoint, but I wonder how much of that too may have been his agent's guidance. Saying, hey, you take this shit lightly. A team like PSG isn't going to offer you the money that they may be
Yeah.
considering offering you. So either way, I was just happy to see that. Happy to see him not blow it off and to take the game seriously.
No,
Uh,
definitely.
for Marines' sake too. Like that just be a slap in the face to those guys for somebody
Mhm.
like that to come in and kind of blow it off.
Do you, so I know like the US, we have our US Open Cup that's in a similar fashion, but could you imagine though, like if we had something, we have the Open Cup, but in all sports, like, so we're from Central Illinois. Could you imagine the Cardinals come in to play the Peoria Chiefs in like an actual meaningful tournament?
Jack, I don't even think it's that. Like, I would see it being like the Chicago Blackhawks coming to play like the Peoria Mustangs. Like,
Yeah, oh, you're
Yeah.
yeah. You're right.
like
You're
I don't even think like a Division III baseball team would be low
Yeah.
enough for what Marine is.
But like, I mean, I don't know. It's just like fascinating to think of what this could do. And I know there's a lot of conversations around, is the FA Cup still worth it? You know, for when everyone just wants to chase Champions League, do people take trophies seriously anymore? They really don't. They just want Europe for the revenue. But
Yeah.
like, it's so cool to
That's
like
the
have
magic of
these
it.
to have
Mhm.
these stories, and also the exposure that this gives Marine.
Yeah.
You know, that gives
Crowley.
Crowley. You know, these clubs that you're just getting exposure. You're getting eyeballs on it. You know, how many kits did they sell? The virtual tickets that they sold for
Yeah.
Marine. You know,
They
like,
sold over 20,000 virtual tickets. I forget what the pounds was, but
Yeah.
it was enough to like pay their rosters for like the next couple of years and like do maintenance.
and they said that, right,
Each
like
week.
everyone who bought a virtual ticket was going to get their name put on. They were going to like make one of the back walls. They're going to put every name of everyone who bought a virtual ticket on like one of their back walls.
That's awesome.
I don't know. Like, I just think about how like that system is so different than anything that we have in the U.S. That I don't know. It just it's magic, you know,
Yeah.
and it gives relevance to clubs that you know are grassroots. They're producing teams and producing players
Mhm.
and making people love the game.
Yeah.
Anyway, just something to think about there. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it highlights the passion of the game, and I mean, people.
Something else that was like cute about the game. There was numbers on the fence that surround the field, and each number is associated with with the person's backyard. So the ball boy knows when he's running down the street which house to go to
Yeah.
get the ball out of their backyard if they're not home. Like that's how small this was. It blows my mind.
But yeah,
Um,
and stuff like that, like just the charm of the cup is really what I was gonna say. It brings that passion back to it. And actually, a lot of people applauded Jose for the seriousness that he approaches the FA Cup with and domestic cups while managing.
yeah.
Which is great. You need a manager to do that to keep those cups alive.
So moving forward with the other games, Chelsea got a 4-0 victory. Kepa got his first clean sheet in a long time, like over a year, I want to say. Dude was trash. Birmingham got pumped by Man City 3-0, and the other big ones was Brighton ended up going into PKs against Newport County, and they won 4-3. So that's good for Brighton to stay in this tournament as well. Looking forward to the fourth round. There's a few games that kind of pumped out, that kind of stood out to me. One was Fulham Burnley. That one's going to be good. I'd never heard of Sheffield Wednesday. I'm sure they're just as bad as Sheffield United, but that's who's playing Everton.
Sheffield Wednesday is in like devastating times right now. New like huge financial problems that they.
Let's get Everton. Let's get their fans to help them out. That's what
Yeah,
this is
I
about.
mean, I don't know, but they did it by their own ownership.
So-
Sheffield Wednesday is just kind of fucked right now.
I'm pretty sure Jamie Vardy grew up a Sheffield Wednesday supporter, and when he scored against Sheffield United and he kicked down the
The
flag, yeah, that was a little bit of that passion coming out. So
Another big one is that Crowley that I was just talking to you about, our Adele lip syncing battle guys. They're playing Bournemouth, and then probably the biggest draws would be Man United is playing Liverpool in the fourth round. That's a pretty big one. And then Leicester and Brentford are playing. Brentford's kind of middle to top of the tier in the championship, so that'll be a pretty good one against Leicester City.
Yeah, Liverpool United is. I mean, obviously, as a Liverpool supporter, is an interesting matchup to me, but especially in the FA Cup. You think of those two clubs and their history in Europe, but obviously, especially in England. Um, I think that'll be an exciting fixture.
No, definitely. Um, that's about all the notes I had. I had a small stuff on like the Crowley Leeds game. Uh, I mean, they pumped Leeds. Leeds didn't really play anyone, but it should have been 4-0. It was 3-0. Crowley even had that reality star they threw in like the 91st minute. I forget his name, but
Mark Wright, I think, or Mike
yeah,
Wright.
like the way they described him, it kind of seemed like he was like a kind of like a bachelor. Like,
Yeah. So I looked this dude up because I actually wasn't familiar with him, and so he had played professionally. He grew up in I forget whose system, um, and then he got into reality TV, and then went back as like a semi-professional player, and then just signed with them with Cali
yeah,
last season, or
okay,
actually at the very end of 2020. Like he literally signed like a month and a half, 2 months ago.
okay.
And I don't think he's making much. I think he just signed like because they were like, "Hey, all right, sure, you can play." So I
Yeah,
mean, he's played in the past. It's not like some publicity stunt, but there's probably a little bit of that to it as well.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
and it
yeah,
sounded like he had a cup of coffee with a few different London teams. Like he was on the Tottenham, the Arsenal, like their developmental leagues, and played on their like their U teams. So,
okay, yeah, yeah.
so
He got on the pitch for about what 45 seconds doing that,
yeah, literally just
which
got
is
on there.
hilarious, honestly, that they did that.
But it like blew up social media, so it
Oh,
worked
yeah,
for
of
him.
course, yeah, publicity.
Moving forward from that, I mean, the next big thing would probably be I'm kind of talking about this real quick. The Premier League, like that's our bread and butter, but it was kind of fun, like having a week off from that, not having to worry about it. Like I was able to just watch some random ass Bundesliga games, the Eredivisie, the Dutch league. I watched Ajax and PSV. I'm not really going to go into it that much. Besides for that game, like I can understand why there's so many like forwards and midfield guys coming out of that league. Like that was they were super high with their pressing. They were like buzzing all over the place, and they were very technical when it came to like flicking and doing the Henefeld heel. It was all over the place. Um, the defense was very bad. It was open. They kept getting caught in possession. Like two of the ended up being 2-2, and two of the goals were pretty much turnovers or like a defender trying to make a pass that he shouldn't have. Um, so yeah, the one thing I did notice, which I don't watch a lot of this division, and I've never seen it in the Bundesliga or in Serie A, in the Italian league, is that whenever they had a free kick from distance, but within scoring range that they were going to have a wall, they had a arrow from the ball and they would show a measurement, and it was really cool, but it was all in meters, so I didn't understand the distance. I was like 33.2 meters, shit, he can
Is that like
handle
300 yards?
yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was really cool, and I wish the Premier League would do that, like so you actually see how far the free kick is, so that way yeah, I don't that way you can just kind of know if it's like exactly 25 yards or 32, you know what it might be. So that was about the only real takeaway I had from that. But moving on to the Bundesliga, is there any games you guys specifically wanted to talk about? I think the big ones this week was RB Leipzig and Dortmund. And then I watched Leverkusen and Bremen, and then Bayern Munich did play M Gladbach as well on Friday. So, Keegs, which one did you end up watching?
Yeah, I watched majority of the Mönchengladbach and Bayern match, which really opened things up for Leipzig to snag some points and drop the deficit down a little bit. But yeah, I so Hoffman scored for Mönchengladbach in the 35th and 45th, and then Newhouse ended up scoring in the 49th. But it was a comeback win for Mönchengladbach, and typically Bayern is the one doing this to teams. So it was a little bit of a role reversal. Lewandowski started the scoring with the penalty in the 20th, and then Goretzka had a belter, which he's known to do, and he received the ball maybe 30 yards out. And Mönchengladbach just, I mean, granted, I think Mueller or Lewandowski made a run and drew a defender with him. But there were two other defenders pretty close to Goretzka, and they just didn't close in on him and gave him all sorts of time. And I mean, you knew what he was going to do, and he just ripped one in. He's been phenomenal for them. I mean, they're just phenomenal in general. But yeah, Mönchengladbach did enough to come back. I mean, they were efficient. They only had 8 shots, 4 on target. 3 of those were goals.
Mm-hmm.
30% possession compared to Bayern's 67%. I mean, if you could put 3 goals up on arguably one of the best teams in the world right now, with only 4 shots on target and 37% possession, pretty great efficiency. And Mönchengladbach started out pretty well and kind of had a dip in form, so maybe they could be getting back to it.
What I saw, I think it was ESPN had like a power ranking after, I think it was after Monday or Tuesday of all the leagues, and they had Bayern Munich number 2, and they had Roma number 1 in the world.
That's bold
for club teams. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I want to say so. City was in the top 10. City was in it, and so was Liverpool. I think that was it out of the Premier League. PSG was like number 11. They were like honorable mention. But yeah, it was just kind of, it wasn't eye opening, but it was just
I wonder too.
One loss, they dropped them to number 2, which I don't agree with.
Yeah, especially now Roma being number 1. Sometimes I don't know how if that would probably be UEFA would be the overseeing entity there, but with FIFA, sometimes they do like FIFA has their international rankings, which are based off of like win ratio, like winning percentage and certain um, analytics like that, versus just like overall like performance and like rating like logically, like, all right, we're human beings who have seen this team play and we know that they would beat this team, compared to like Colombia might be a top 10 team in the world because they play Ecuador, Peru, Panama, and Costa Rica. Those are like their last 5 matches, and so they've got 5 wins, 0 draws, and 0 losses in the last 5 matches. So
would that
it could have been a rating like that.
But like, would that rating mean that ESPN is saying that Serie A is the best league in the world right now?
I don't know. So that's what I'm saying is I think there's multiple different rankings.
I'm like say like, would you think that? Like, I'm trying to think. Like, there is a lot of good.
There are some good teams in Serie A. Yeah,
we're kind of transitioning out of Bundesliga, but I'm just like thinking that through because Bayern slipping to number 2 would like who like Leipzig is up there, but I mean that was a pretty miserable defeat to Dortmund.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Been incredibly
let's get into Dortmund.
Inconsistent.
Yeah,
but yeah. So I watched that match also. That was the first. So actually, when I watched it, don't tell anybody, but I was maybe illegally watching it when I was driving. So I had so I had it like
we've all put it on the dash.
I had it on the dash. Yeah. Watched the first half. I mean, luckily I didn't like have anything to watch the first half. It was miserably boring. But then the second half,
it got good.
Really fun. Really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It was Dortmund when they're firing, and they're so much fun when they're firing.
Like that first goal, like the Holland pass to
Reece, I think
Royce,
Sancho,
Royce. Like that was that was really
that flick. Oh.
That flick, knowing where he's gonna be. I mean, that's
and just like reminds me of like I haven't watched a ton of Dortmund. I haven't watched a ton of Holland, so like I know like what people say about him. Yeah. But the dude is grizzly, just getting in there and throwing his big body around.
He's quick as shit though. Like,
he's a total striker. He reminds me, actually. You mentioned Lukaku, and I was talking with Jack yesterday about Lukaku's goal last week in their 6-2 win.
Yeah, that turn.
He brought it up on the pod. of just he's got a defender who isn't even trying to defend at that point. He's trying to do whatever he can to physically bring Lukaku down. And to Lukaku, it's like a cow who has a fly on him. Like he doesn't even notice the defender. And it's all technique and he receives the touch. Holland has that capability where he's so strong that he can bully people, but he's also got grace and he's also got speed. Like I mean, he truly is the ultimate striker. I mean, and he's reaching that level of a Lukaku and it, earlier than Lukaku ever reached it. And you can see why people draw the comparisons to Lewandowski.
So that game ended 3-1. The first goal is the one Jack went into detail on, but he ended up picking up goals 2 and 3 for them. And that second one was an awesome. It was Gio Reyna, and then he went across to the left side of the pitch, and then it was a cross that he he set it up to Gio Reyna it was kind of like a hockey assist. He set that up he made the move to get all this going, and then he just cut right towards that far post and made a phenomenal finish. It's probably not going to go down as definitely as goal of the year, but it was definitely one of the team goals of the year in the Bundesliga, I would imagine. It was awesome. And then the next one, if I remember right, he deked the goalie and went left on him and pretty much got the goalie down and just dribbled it in pretty much. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Kiggs. I mean, it wouldn't be unheard of 3 years from now. He's the best striker in the world. I mean, he's already up. That conversation is already starting, so it's only going to keep going. The other cool thing I thought about this game, there was one point, I think it was, I can't remember who fouled who, but Tyler Adams and Gio Reyna, it was kind of USA versus USA. They pretty much got in each other's faces. They were barking at each other about, I want to say Gio Reyna had the ball and was taking it, and Tyler Adams pulled his shirt and took him down. Didn't take him down, but took him back and off the ball. I don't think it was even called a yellow card because anything goes in the Bundesliga these days. But it was just kind of cool to see them. You could tell they're friends, but it was still a shithousery thing that happens in pickup on a weekend that you're just dude, what are you doing? Don't go at my ankle like that. So I thought that was really cool. The other thing, this is 2 straight games that Sancho has a goal in, and he's been literally terrible, and he's finally getting on. I don't know if it's just because he's getting regular playing time. He might be one of those players that needs 60 straight minutes. He can't just go on in the 60 or 70th minute. He has to actually play from start to the 60 or 70-minute mark. Yeah, it's going to be kind of amazing to see what happens to him too with the rest of the season, because I think he'll be gone in January, or excuse me, not in January, but at the end of the year, I could see him leaving, going to the Premier League.
But United can never pull the trigger and actually do anything on it.
Yeah, pretty honestly, that's literally it. Do you guys have anything else on that? Because if not, I was just going to really quickly touch on Leverkusen and Bremen.
Yeah.
I literally just watched this game because I thought Josh Sargent, in my opinion, he's one of the strikers of the future. And he hasn't been getting it going for, I think it's Werner Brennan. I just call him Brennan. But honestly, I don't know if the system's working for him because, I feel like he's not good at coming back to the ball and getting it. He kind of needs that service entry, and he wasn't really getting it. So it kind of just felt like he was running around. There was a few set pieces that were good, but nothing great. And then it ended up that Leverkusen ended up equalizing it 1-1 in the 70th minute with an own goal, and that was after a VAR. So it looked like there was a goal scored by Leverkusen, and it looked like he controlled it with his hand. So at certain angles, it definitely was a handball. But then at one specific angle, it looked like it wasn't. But it was kind of hard to tell, the timing, had it already hit or had it not hit at that point. But they ended up allowing it, and then he ended up kicking off some guy trying to cross it, and ended up going right into the net. So it was an own goal on a VAR challenge. So yeah, that one was 1-1, and honestly, that was about it with the Bundesliga. There was quite a bit of good matches, but the other big thing was because of Josh Sargent kind of sucking, it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth and then you end up watching. I didn't even watch this game, but you end up hearing and you end up seeing all the stuff where Schalke got their first win of the season, and they end up winning 4-0 against Hoffenheim, and that was because of USA, the teenager from USA.
Stop stealing my cheer and my belter.
Well, then I will leave this one alone, guys. But yeah, so USA Schalke, like it's coming, and Jack will fill you guys in. You guys want to talk Italy?
Yeah.
You got anything, Keith? You got anything, Jack?
Talk a little Serie A. Napoli. I watched Napoli Udinese. Kevin Lasagna scored. Everyone always loves to hear Kevin Lasagna scored, just because the last name Lasagna tends to make people laugh. Um, Lorenzo Insigne, Il Capitano for Napoli, scored a penalty in the 15th, and then Bakayoko scored actually in stoppage time with a header. And he's played pretty well for them as a defensive mid, kind of filling in that void that Allen left behind. But they're another team that's just been really inconsistent. They got off to an amazing start. Napoli's always like I don't really have a Serie A team, but they're always a team that I'm really pulling for and would like to see make a good run. And they seem to have the players, they seem to have the roster. They just don't really put it together. But uh, fairly even game when it comes to shots. Both had 17 shots. Udinese had 8 on target. Napoli had 6, but Napoli dominated possession pretty handily. They had 63% of possession. But they're sixth in the table, tied for fifth actually with Atalanta. Um, and there's kind of a separation in the Serie A table right now. Milan's up there with 40 points. Inter's right behind them with 37. And then you've got Roma, Juve, and Atalanta and Napoli kind of trailing behind. So in third, you've got Roma with 34. Juve's got 33. And then Atalanta and Napoli are tied with 31. So it's Milan and Inter Milan are kind of starting to separate themselves, but Juve got a huge result. So we watched the rerun of Juve versus Sassuolo last night, which was actually a pretty big match for that middle of the table there, because it gave Juve it took them from 30 points to 33, and took all 3 points away from Sassuolo, who's at 29. So it could have been a huge. I mean, it potentially could have dropped Juve down to the sixth spot, and put Sassuolo up to the fourth. So huge game there. Weston McKennie came off a little bit early with an injury, actually like the 25th minute or something.
Yeah, I was watching at that part, and I remember just being like, "Oh God, take me! Like take my body, don't take his."
My boy. Look how they massacre
Like,
my boy.
literally, I don't buy jerseys with people's names on the back of them anymore because I have a Dortmund Pulisic jersey, but I would get a Weston McKennie one just because not only because those Juvie jerseys are just fresh, but like I would actually get one because I he's my favorite USA player right now, and for that to happen, it sucks because he was literally playing. He was the starter. That's his position to lose at this point.
I don't think it'll be anything too serious either. He jogged off the pitch, so I would imagine it won't be anything too serious. But yeah, we watched that match.
Sounds like you two are having a great time together.
Yeah, we're just buddies up here, man, in Milwaukee.
It was a good match though. Like Sassuolo was really holding their own, doing what Sassuolo does of holding possession and trying to be creative in Juve's half of the pitch until they got a red card in like
45th.
the 45th minute, and that changed the whole game. But even like early on in the second half, they still were holding it together. And then there's kind of the floodgates opened. Juve scored in the 50th minute. Aaron Ramsey scored then in the 82nd, and then Ronaldo, finished it off at the end. But I would have loved to have seen that without a red card. It was a deserving red card. It was a pretty nasty tackle.
Yeah.
But anyway, but still a good match, and I really enjoy watching Sassuolo. Still, I've talked about it a couple of times on the pod. It's
Is that your team?
That's like remember that was the hipster team. I got to come up with the other hipster
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just really fun to watch, and I thought they held their own. It's just a shame that they bad tackle and changed the whole game.
Yeah, it really did. Because they got it at the end of the first half. Juve comes
and
out.
also, sorry, go on.
Juve comes out with a banger. I'll just go ahead and spoil it. My belter, Danilo hit a ball with his right foot. I believe he's left-footed, or am I mixed up? Did he hit it with his left?
Didn't he hit it with his left and kind of sliced it?
Yeah, he might have hit it with his left and sliced it.
Ooh,
Either way, absolute belter. Ball was kind of like deflected out to him, and he just hit it first time and put his entire frame into the ball.
Unreal.
God
Yeah.
and country behind that kick.
Yeah, incredible strike, and he's a full back. He's not a guy who's getting that opportunity that often, and when he does, he's just putting everything into it, and it'll probably work out 1 out of every 15 to 20 times for him. And this was that one time when it worked out really well. And then Sassuolo came right back, and like 8 minutes later, they scored in the 58th and held Juve until the 82nd. And Ramsey put one away. And then, yeah, as Jack mentioned, Ronaldo kind of capped it off. It's funny. Jack left after Ramsey scored. He was like, all right, it's got to be over now. And then I went and I brushed my teeth. And the last thing he said was, the floodgates have probably opened in the 82nd. And so I was like, yeah, they'll probably score like 3 more now. I went and brushed my teeth, and I heard the commentators from the living room talking about how Ronaldo had just scored. And I'm like, fuck, I missed
it. Ramsey, is he getting a lot of playing time? Because I hate Arsenal, but I liked him at Arsenal. I thought he was a good player there. Is he getting a lot of playing time?
He came on for McKennie.
For McKennie, yeah. And McKennie, I mean, was looking good. Like he was floating a lot into the middle and playing like as a target man in the middle. Yeah.
I think that's what they're doing with him. It kind of seems like he hovers the 18.
Yeah, but they like had him starting on a like they're playing a 4-4-2, and they had him starting on the wing, and then he kind of played that like floating role though that kept in a lot.
Yeah, he goes in and stirs up trouble a lot, especially when they kick the ball out wide to Ronaldo. He'll kind of fill that gap, or whatever striker it is, if Morata's up there, or if Dybala's playing forward. Or Chiesa, for that matter. Chiesa's been really impressive to me. Yeah. I mean, Juve's Juve. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the year to see them back up there with Inter and AC.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that'd be a shocker if they weren't. Like, I mean, how many years in a row have they won it? Like,
yeah.
So, there's a few other small things I want to do before we kind of wrap this up with our booze, cheers, and belters. Some like small rumors or free agency things for the January window that Jack likes to shit on so much.
I just don't think anything good happens in January.
All right. So Sabitzer, I think it's Markel Sabitzer. He's an amazing midfielder for Leipzig. Sorry if I'm butchering names. I don't really care.
Marcel the Shell Sabitzer.
Marcel the Shell. I like that. So Sky Sports Germany just said that he rejected a contract extension. So that means that at the end of the season, he's a free agent. Because there's a lot of teams interested, and the main one is yours truly. It's Tottenham, which I would love to see that because I do not think Dele will be here in a month. I don't think he'll be here, and then I don't think Lucas will be here at the end of the year. I think he'll be sent somewhere else. So
how would Lucas go to Italy?
Yeah, I could see him that too. He's older, but he still has a lot on him. I think he's still really good, and I'll always love him for those 3 goals in like the final 4 minutes to get us to the Champions League championship. So, the other big one is striker Moussa Dembele. It looks like he's going to be going to Atletico Madrid. It's pretty much just to finalize the contract.
Which Moussa? Which one? There's a couple of them.
So there's a lot of Moussas and a lot of Dembeles. I get them all mixed up. But he's from Lille.
What?
He's what?
Which one? The one from Lyon? The one that came from Celtic? Or the
Lyon, yes, that one. He's a striker from Lyon, yes. I
Yeah,
said Lyle, but I meant Lyon.
Lyon but yeah, he came from Celtic and then went to Lyon.
I'm pretty positive. I'm gonna check.
That's the one I'm talking about. There's a couple of them.
And then there's the really young one at Celtic.
Edouard. That's different.
No. There's a Karamoko.
Oh, I don't know who.
Karamoko Dembele.
Anyway, there's too many Dembeles.
Yeah, there are a ton of Dembeles. I was thinking Musa was the one from which one? Which one's with Barcelona?
I don't think it's him.
Yeah. Anyway, Musa Dembele, where's he going?
To Atletico. So
Atletico. Now I gotta look it up because it's gonna eat at me.
If it's the one from the one that used to play for Celtic, dude, that dude's a player, man.
yeah, he plays for Lyon.
Yeah, Musa is Leon. All right. Who the fuck is
Isn't that the team, Jack, you were talking about 2 weeks ago that they're like struggling with money issues right now?
It's the whole league that they. I mean, unless if they have like big money owners like PSG will be fine, but so many of them depend on, television revenue and their media, television sponsorship all kind of like deteriorated. So unless if you have like an independently wealthy owner, everyone's kind of fucked. So,
all right, I just got to clarify. Usman is the name I couldn't remember. Usman Dembele is with Barcelona. He's been the biggest, the highest touted Dembele. He's only 23 and he's been talked about for a while. And then Karamoko, which I mentioned, is this dude who was like a wonder kid who plays for Celtic. He made his debut for their under 20 team at 13. So he's been talked about for a while and he's only 17 now. But he still doesn't really like play for them regularly. Edouard's good. He impressed me in the Old Firm.
Good. Like when Dembele left, Edouard pretty much took over that spot.
Yeah.
And then you have like Lee Griffiths, who's
just got a rocket on his boot. Right. But yeah.
No, we appreciate you clarifying that because I mean you threw me in a whirlwind and I was like literally about ready to drown when Jesse Marsh last week when you said Stan Marsh.
Stan Marsh.
Stan Marsh.
I just blocked that.
So I'm sorry, Kings. I just had to say that to you. So the other main. So that right there, that closes out Toby's transfer. Corner? I don't know another T to call it like a
Toby's transfer corner.
Yeah, but with the T instead of a C.
I'm gonna get you a little beanbag and we'll do like a little cut scene to you just like reading a book in the corner.
So today there was Premier League games. Manchester United I know played. They got a win against Burnley. And then there's a couple games tomorrow as well. And I want to say there's one game on Thursday. But there's nothing on Friday. And then Saturday kickstarts technically this is the 17th week of Premier League, if I remember right, 17th or 18th week. There's a full slate on Saturday. The main games that pop out to me is the 2 o'clock Central. So that's the primetime game. And it's Southampton against Leicester. That'll be a good one. And then if you guys are in the Leeds, they're playing Brighton. And then the big game is not Aston Villa and Everton. Sorry, Jack. And it's not Sheffield United Tottenham. It's the middle match, and that is Liverpool and Manchester United. Keeks, who do you think? How do you think that will go?
A little nervous with that being such a big match and Liverpool playing how they have been, and United playing, on top of form. So yeah, a little nervous. I think Klopp will have them ready to go though, and yeah, could be the shock they need. Could be that little bit of responsibility that they need to really kind of hone in and pull themselves out of the situation they're in. But we'll see.
They're finally, like I've been saying for the last 2 weeks, Manchester United, I think, finally has the system in place of what they want to do. And I mean, they finally realized, hey, you know what? Like Paul Pogba is one of our best players, if not our best player. Even though Bruno Fernandes gets all the glory and all the numbers, Paul Pogba makes that thing move up the middle, in my opinion. and he comes back and plays good defensively. And like for instance today, like he's my belter of the week. Was today's goal. He hit a banger, but like he just moves and he almost gets a PK every game. I feel like he has that like sixth sense that like someone's about ready to touch him, and when they do, he like crumbles. But like it gets called. Like he gets a lot of PKs. And yeah, so if he's playing, and then today instead of McTominay playing that holding midfield role, they had Matic. I still really like him. I liked him when he played at Chelsea, 9 years ago, whenever it was. He's a good player, and yeah, so I think they got things figured out. So it will be interesting to see how scared Manchester United is against Liverpool. Like that's what I think, because I don't know if they're gonna want to go into that attack mode and kind of play it that way, or if they're gonna want to kind of park it in and play more of like two holding midfields, even though they usually go with one on the left, one on the right, and then they have the attacking creative midfielder. And so that's their like, and then the holding midfield. I don't know if they're going to maybe put, instead of Pogba, maybe they put Fred in there, who's kind of more sits back with McTominay as kind of a defensive style. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. I hope not. I hope it's wide open. I would like to see a lot of goals in this game, and it could easily be that way if Liverpool's up and Manchester United, their back end shitting the bed like it usually is. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Their back end shits.
Oh, dude.
Didn't. Also, but did you see the kits that Man United? Dude, look at that.
Did you like those?
He is sick. I like
the
that.
black and white stripe ones. They were
That's-
funky, I thought.
That's that Man United zebra cake kit.
I like
Dude,
it.
do not even trash on the best little Debbie snack of all
I
time.
love you some zebra cakes. I think it will be a really interesting matchup, though. One, just to see a club that struggled, who is now playing well, compared to a club that's for 2 years has played as good of football as they've played in a decade and a half, who is now in a form where they're struggling. That's interesting enough. But also these managers. You've got Klopp, a guy who's known for being a tactician, a guy who's known for being animated, kind of at the top of his game, and a guy like Ale that's was just kind of thrust into this role and has sort of seemed like, I mean, he's naturally bug-eyed, but he's looked especially bug-eyed lately, where he's like looking around like, I'm on the hot seat. I should have never been given this job, but I'm kind of just going with it.
He's like a hobbit.
he is. He's like Smeagol, more like Smeagol. He's like a river folk. But it's just an interesting matchup to me in that regard, where it's like this should be a really close match with the talent United have. If both teams play well, this should be like a 2-2, very back and forth match. But I'm curious to see how Ale comes out. I'm curious to see if he's conservative and if Klopp jumps on that, and it ends up being a 3-1 or a 4-2 kind of match. I don't know. Momentum, I think, has a lot to do with matches like this. And
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the other big barn burner of the week is the Monday night game. That is our trashy Newcastle playing Arsenal. Just kidding. That's not a good game at all. And both those teams, Newcastle, I'm just going to go ahead and segue into the cheers. Cheers to freaking Sheffield United for getting their first W today. They beat Newcastle, they don't want to show up to anything, I feel like. Like they're like, you know what we should do? We should put DeAndre Yedlin in. Let's see what he does. And yeah, so with all that being said, what was the score a week or two ago against Liverpool with Newcastle? Was it 1-1? Oh, okay, yeah, just double checking. So that was my cheers of the week. Is Sheffield gets the first W. Jack, I had a second cheer, but I'm gonna let you share your cheers. What's your cheers?
Well, so my cheer and belter is going to be in the same, and that you were trying to steal earlier was
let's do it.
Matt Hoppy, 19-year-old American for Schalke, coming in with a hat trick to give Schalke their first win. So, dude, like those goals, I didn't watch that game, but I watched the highlights. Like those were straight striker goals, like chipping over goal. Like twice. It was anyway impressive for a 19-year-old. Great for just seeing international Americans that are doing well. So good for him, and good for Schalke to get a W. Like,
Yeah.
the Bundesliga is better when the Revier Derby is being played. I mean, that's one of the biggest derbies in the world with Schalke and Dortmund. So hopefully they can stay up because that's one of my favorite world fixtures is to watch that. So cheering for Schalke. And also Schalke, yeah. Anyway, I won't go into it. But anyway,
Go. You can go into it, Jack. But that was the first hat trick by a U.S. player in Bundesliga history.
That's
Shout out to that. So
that's very cool.
Keegs, you got to cheer, and then we'll switch, and I'll let you share your booze, and we'll go around the table again.
Yeah, I've been really lazy. I was saying to Jack before, I've been really lazy about my booze and cheers, and you guys have carried me in this section of the show. So yeah, my cheer was just a general cheer to the world soccer community, rallying around that Marine and Tottenham match, as we mentioned earlier, raising that money, and it goes to show. It goes to show, that the passion and the FA Cup really in general. It goes to show that passion's there and that love for the game, no matter what the level is, no matter what the difference in skill is. It's the beautiful game, man.
Definitely.
Seriously beautiful.
Speaking of beautiful, haircut, Keegs, love it.
Shall we share with the people?
Yeah, you went full corporate on us. I love it.
So yeah, folks, you may have mentioned that I'm no longer wearing a hat and I no longer have long hair. As has been mentioned multiple times over the last week, moved to Milwaukee Thursday. Started a new job yesterday, Monday. Decided on Saturday I should probably get my hair just trimmed, just cleaned up around the ears, cleaned up on the neck. So I'm looking for a barber, look up a couple reliable looking places. They're closed or else booked until, later on. And I'm like, nah, I gotta go on Monday with a decent cut. And so I find this place. It says like nice family environment, blah blah blah. I should have known. All the comments were about like the environment and how nice the guy was. And so I should have known he was a shit barber and just a nice which is the opposite of what I want to go to. I don't give a fuck what kind of person you are. I want you to be able to cut hair. So I walk in. This dude's like 95 years old. I sit down in the chair against all my better judgment, and he looks me in the eye through the mirror, and I'm like, all right, sir, I just want trimmed up around the ears, just want cleaned up. I'm starting a job Monday. I was like, you can take half inch off the top, I trust you. You can, you've been doing this for a while. Fucking ate my words immediately. And so he's like, oh yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I'll get you looking good for your job Monday. First cut, he snips about 5.5 inches off of my. He lifts it up like this just to taunt me. I think
the barber's
that mirror, and then he snipped it. My heart just shattered, and I'm a fucking pussy, and so I didn't say anything, and I just sat there and got my hair cut, tipped him kindly, and just walked out.
25%. We're in a pandemic.
It was funny as I'm walking out. He's like, "Yeah, if you like what you got, leave a review on the internet." Like on the internet, like the most generic old man term in the world. Like not a Google review, not a Facebook. Like you can get on the internet and leave a review.
subscribe. Speaking of, guys, subscribe to our YouTube Brews and Belters, please. Keys, I'm not trying to bring up a thing. I think it looks good, man.
No, yeah, he really did. I'm shitting on the poor old guy. I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to stereotype.
This is your segue into your booze as well.
Old barbers, yeah, he's my boo. I'm gonna boo him. No, he did an all right job with the haircut. It was just precisely the opposite of what I asked him to do.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
You're about ready to get married, Keegs. It'll happen every night.
Yeah.
So you don't probably have a booze then? What about you, Jack?
I really don't. I boo him.
My boo, I would say, so it's kind of like a neutral thing, but I don't know if you guys followed this story that the New York Cosmos, which is one of the more historic clubs in the U.S., announced this week that they're not going to participate in the spring. So they didn't really say why, but they're not going to participate in the NISA league this spring. So that just sucks. The Cosmos are like, I mean, they're just, I don't know, they're a piece of American history in this sport. I hope that this isn't a thing where it says like where they just go away, because that would be really crappy.
Yeah.
But anyway, just stinks. I think there's probably some COVID. I mean, there's obviously, I'm sure COVID played a huge role in that. If right, they play in New York City, and New York City has like a pretty strict like quarantine thing. So if they were to play out of state, they have to quarantine for like 10 days or whatever it is. So I don't know what the reason is. If it's financial, I can't imagine it's financial. Their owner is a millionaire. But again, just really sucks that they're not playing in the spring. Hopefully they come back in the fall. So yeah, so that's my boo.
I like it.
May not know as well. I think just to explain, they're not like a top flight. They're not an MLS team right now. But
And nor will they ever be.
nor will they ever be. But like Jack mentioned, an important piece of history in the States. That's where when Pele came to the States, he played for the Cosmos, and that really kind of put them on the map. And they were a very high profile club because of that. So
yeah.
for those who may not know,
and they're like the antithesis of being against the MLS and against a closed system. They've taken the MLS to lawsuits to say that pretty much what they're doing is illegal in FIFA. You're not supposed to have a closed system. There's supposed to be a pro rel in the game. So anyway, I hope that they don't go away. There's rumors that they'll be under a new ownership group, which I also, I don't know, pros and cons. Like, it's nice to have money in lower league division, and it's also nice to have money in lower league division so that they can go to court against things that suck for the rest of the soccer world. So
you need
anyway,
that rebel.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm probably gonna buy a Cosmos kit.
I was just looking them up real quick. Their logo's cool looking.
Their logo's dope.
Yeah, dude, the logo's
like
awesome.
Spiral look. I like that. My booze is for, I shouldn't even know who this team is, but because Tottenham had to do the play into the Europa League, they played Royal Antwerp, which is a Belgian league side team. So they're currently 6th in the Belgian soccer league. And their forward, I'm gonna botch this name, so I'm gonna look it up real quick. Didier Lemkel Z. His last name's Z. I don't know. Anyways, he wants to be traded, and so this is my boo, and then my cheer, even though I've already shared a cheer, is for the actual program. He wants to be traded, and so he wore their main hated rival. He wore their jersey on to go into the facilities, and just being a shithead. And the people locked him out and wouldn't let him in until he took his jersey off. Like, no, you can't come in here with that jersey on. And so that was his petty way of trying to get traded. He's like, oh, this is how much I don't care about this place. And yeah, so he's actually apologized since then. Like, it was childish, he said. So yeah, so that's my boo, but it was cheers is the guards that were working the security. They kept him locked out. They literally locked the door, and there's pictures of him just standing there knocking on the door trying to get in. They wouldn't let him.
As somebody who obviously just sits and talks soccer once a week with you two, I'm personally for the chaos and for the pettiness, so I would flip them, and I would give my cheer to him for wearing the opposing jersey, and my boo would be the security guards.
So
also, while we're on the topic of pettiness, yeah, we might just need a general shithousery section to be added as well. because as I posted on our Instagram page this week, um, Papu Gomez from Atalanta, midfielder, Argentinian, their talisman for the last 7 seasons, has been kind of button heads with their manager Gasperini after Gasperini called him out for refusing to play on the right flank in their Champions League match against Midtjylland. And so Gomez has been sitting for a while. And Gomez posted a series of like 9 video clips from his matches because Gasperini has critiqued him since he was upset about him refusing to play the right flank, and then his reason for sitting him has been critiquing his positioning. And so Gomez did a series of like 8 or 9 short video highlights, and he had him circled himself being in position in the middle of the pitch, and how his positioning is like not flawed, which was just super petty and
yeah, airing it out to the world.
yeah, exactly the chaos that people like us want to see, so that we have shit to talk about.
He's like talking to his best friend from high school's younger brother, who's like in graphic design. He's like, "Can you shoot this video of me? Can you get this video clip and like put a green circle around me? Like, will that work out?" He's like, "I got you, bro."
Like, put some 03 Nelly in the background too, just to really let out some angst.
So Keegan, we heard your belter. What was it again?
Yeah, Danilo from Juve.
Juve, okay. And then Jack, you Hope, right?
Yep.
Okay. Mine is from today. It was Paul Pogba. Don't know if you guys saw this. The Man U. It was a ridiculously dirty, just unbelievable belter, and it was first time. Didn't even touch the ground. He got a hold of it. I thought at first he was going to pierce kick it. For everyone who doesn't know what a pierce kick is, it goes off your shin. That's what we call pierce kicks in the talk. It's a shin kick.
Just watch.
I thought he was going to get it, but he got a hold of it, and it was like a tomahawk kick because it was up by his hip almost. When he got it with his right leg, it was coming across the goal and towards the left side where he was at the 18, and he just rocketed it with his right and got a hold of it. And yeah, that was the deciding goal. Paul Pogba's back. The only thing that he needs to keep doing, he needs to change his hair. He needs to get a little bit more flamboyant, a little bit brighter. Maybe go back to 2 years ago when his hair looked like it was on fire after the World Cup, when like he was on fire during the World Cup. And then he needs to show up with someone literally shooting a video of him getting out of Lamborghini. That's what he needs to do every day. Like every day, like have someone, that's their job. Just shoot video of him getting out of a car. Like that's what he does. Like
in the camo Supreme.
Yeah, you're fucked, Keegan. Man, you buy $1 million on Sunday.
Buy $1 million, man. Outside the band with that drip, it's over.
Yep. And then I actually had a secondary belter, and that was every 2-yard goal that Vinicius scored against Marine, he rocketed into the net. It was like he was literally kicking it to go through the net and hit the like people that were watching from the gardens. Like it was that ridiculous.
Yeah, he was upset about something. And he also hit the celebration that
Mbappe, yeah, dude, Twitter's eating him alive.
Apparently he's been doing that for a while, but yeah, I saw Twitter eating him up for that.
So he did it on his first goal, which I don't blame him. Like first goal, but after that he didn't do it. Like he realized, like, okay, I gotta tone it down. Like literally, the guy I'm playing against should only be like 180 pounds, and he's weighing 210 right now, marking me. So like, it is what it is. I mean, I'm right there with him. So, but still, so. I think that does that wrap it up? You got anything else, Jack?
Not me.
Okay. No, that was a good week. It'll be nice to have some Premier League next week. Next Tuesday, please follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe to us, Brews and Belters, please. You can just type however you want, actually. And doesn't matter. It'll come up on both. So. Perfect. Right. Hopefully Brennan's there to send us home. If not,
see y'all next week.
Jack. Sing some Adele to us, Crowley style.
No,
eat it up, boys. Eat it up.
Bro.